Well, welcome back to Mr. Obsolete's Vintage Homesteading. Today we're going to talk a bit about chainsaws like I promised. This is a Stihl 034. This belongs to a friend of mine, Mr. C. And he and his dad had one of these each. They used to use them a lot. Got put away and hadn't been run in years. And the thing is, it's old enough that the Stihl dealer won't work on them. And a small engine shop that will charge a fortune to work on them. So Mr. C has been a super friend over the years. He's done a lot of favors for me. When I was running low on firewood, he donated a couple of truckfuls of it. So I told him I'd work on his saws. So he got both of those 034s back in operation. And so he's going to come over and visit us in a little bit. And so anyway, these will be back out on the job. He's doing a lot of wood work right now. And he'll have a couple of backup saws, or these are actually a larger, more powerful saw than what he's using right now. So the bigger wood, this will be better for him. So we'll be back when Mr. C shows up. Well, off in the distance I see Mr. C. Looks like he got some junk for us. He watched our video about one man's junk is somebody else's better junk. So,
well, good afternoon, Mr. Obsolete. Here's some little presents for you.
Oh boy, just what I needed. I'm low on chainsaws. Anyway, these came from a combination of Mr. C's place and his dad's place, and you know, they're just obsolete and didn't run anymore. So bringing them over here and dumping them off and see if I can work on them. But unfortunately, it'll be a while before I work on them. Right now, I'm so busy doing gardening and orchard work and stuff, I don't really have any time to work on the saws. But late fall, over the winter and stuff, I'll get a bunch of these running if they're still viable. So let's see what we got here. Well, we got a Super Easy Homelite, automatic oiling. Looks like it's got a 3/8 chain. Well, it's got a 16-inch bar. We got some compression, okay compression. Here we got a real late one. Let's see what model it says here. It just says Homelite chainsaw, 16-inch bar. It's got a 1/4-inch pitch chain. It's kind of unusual for a late model saw like this. The case and everything's all plastic on this. It's got real good compression. A little primer bulb on here is kind of interesting. It's rock hard, but you know, to purge the system so you get fuel through it, make them easier to start. The controls are right out in the open there. Anyway, that looks like a viable piece of junk. And we get another Super Easy again. This one's got a broken handle, but I believe one of these had a bad ignition module, and take the two of them and make one usable saw out of the two. This got a 3/8 low profile chain on it. 16-inch bar also. Now, these are kind of an interesting little saw. I've never had one of these. These were made in Canada, and they were sold under 3 different manufacturers, all the same. This says Frontier on it. Some were called Quadras and stuff, and they were huge sellers. And they did tons and tons of private label saws. They were a big deal for a long time, then it just kind of collapsed and disappeared. It's got a 1/4-inch pitch chain on it. And it's got a 15-inch bar. One little interesting feature here is the dogs are cast into the front cover like a lot of little cheap saws. And it's got an overrider oiling on it too, which is kind of neat. Got good compression. Oil and gas loader right in the front there. Nice little handy light size saw. And here's another one. This is the XL2 Homelite. This case is all metal. This is an earlier saw. It says Homelite XL2 automatic. It's got good compression. 1/4" pitch chain. It's an 11" bar and it has the cast dogs on it too. So that's another little biter there, little nipper. Little top handle saws like this are pretty good, but the old ones like this are pretty heavy. It's a lot heavier than my little McCulloch, but you can still do a lot of work with them. Here's the piece de resistance, my favorite, a Poulan, and this has a picture of a shark on it. It's called the wood shark, but they screwed up at the factory and misnamed it because it should be the wood carp, because you know, carp are bottom feeding fish, called a sucker, and so if you bought one of these, you're a sucker. Anyway,
I didn't buy that.
probably somebody gave it to him just to make him mad. So anyway, it's got a 14" bar, another 1/4" pitch chain. I've never seen so many saws that had 1/4" pitch chain on them. I've only had 3 or 4 of them over the years. But this is basically my little brother to Mr. Pooh here, wherever I hit it. So Mr. Pooh here is 42 cc's, and this one is 33 cc's. And so when we initially got Mr. Pooh here, you know, in a stock form, it would hardly cut anything. You can go back and watch my older videos 1 through 5 on upgrades and modifications I've done to this saw, and it actually cuts pretty darn good. So there's hope for these little saws. But anyway, this one cut up to about 8 inches, cuts pretty good. Any more than that, it bogs down. It's not super powerful, but it's got enough. So I'll be right back and show you some of the wood we're going to use on the wood carp. Okay, I wanted to show you the best feature of this saw. The decal, the wood shark, or as I'm going to call it, the wood carp. And it's got good compression and stuff. New enough it has a chain brake on it. And it's got a 14" bar. So anyway, this will be kind of a challenge. Layout and stuff is almost identical to the Pooh saw here. See that the side covers are slightly different, but top cover is very similar and stuff. This is just an updated, this is a 2000 year model, so I'm guessing this is probably 4 or 5 years newer. So anyway, I was going to talk about the size of wood in the stock form. This is probably about all it'll cut. So Mr. Obsolete's going to have to do a hot rod version of it, just like he did in Mr. Pooh. Maybe double the size of the wood. Well, we got a few more treasures here. This is a small roller nose bar, which the roller nose is what I really like. This is off a Remington saw. And I saw somewhere that they were the ones that actually patented these. I know I've talked about the roller noses and different things in a couple of videos ago about chain and bars, but that's kind of an interesting, neat piece for a small saw. And then we got, it's probably about a 20 here. It's 20, actually 24. This is a McCulloch bar, but no name on it other than Oregon, but 3/8 and sprocket nose, so I can use that. That's a good piece. And then we got all the good miscellaneous here. There's a bunch of chains. I think this is for the wood carp. Power head off a small saw. Tecumseh gas tank, and Briggs & Stratton gas tank, and some gas caps and nuts and bolts. And just all kinds of good rare treasures. One just can't live without them. Then the last thing we got here is I think this is a 12 horse Briggs flathead, and I've got an old vintage lawnmower out of about 1962 that uses this exact engine, but it's locked up solid and stuff. And this turns over and it's really nice shape, so should be able to put it back on mowing again sometime in the future. So there we go. So remember, one man's junk is somebody else's better junk. And we'll see you on the next video. Vintage is best. Okay, well, we want to thank Mr. C here for all of these fine treasures. And what do you have to say there, Mr. C?
Well, thanks for helping me clean out my yard.
So remember, one man's junk is somebody else's better junk. In this case, maybe. So remember, vintage is best. Special friends, help them out when you can, because they'll help you when you need it too.